Hi, I'm Ulysses Kirksey, music director and conductor of the Petersburg Symphony Orchestra, Petersburg, Virginia. Thank you for joining me. I was asked to do a video where I talk about myself, and I thought, well, I don't know, what should I do? What should I say? What approach should I take? What angle should I take? And so I thought, well, let's call this a self-interview. So I hope you don't mind if I take just a few minutes to talk to myself. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that didn't sound right. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't talk to myself so much. Well, let's just say, okay, since I'm conductor of a symphony orchestra, maybe people would like to know something about my background and how I came to this position. My first instrument was the alto saxophone, and I played sax in elementary and junior high school. Back then they called it junior high school, not middle school. I played in my junior high school band, and that was a great experience because I learned how to play in an ensemble, to play with other people, a good body of people, and to learn to listen and to blend in to an ensemble. So that was a great experience to get started. When I got to high school, I started to get heavy into classical music. I started to buy classical records. I was listening to symphonies and concertos. And then I decided that I needed to take up an orchestral instrument because the saxophone wasn't used in orchestra that much. So I decided on the cello. I decided that I would find my voice on the cello, and that would be my orchestral instrument. One snag is that my high school didn't have a string department. So I thought that was a bummer, but maybe I'll just start off taking private lessons right away, which was a good move actually, because I found a really great private teacher, and I was a self-motivated student. I knew what I wanted to do. I was collecting cello records, listening to the Bach unaccompanied cello suites, and I thought, look, I've got to learn that music. I've got to learn to play that for myself. So I got a copy of the Bach cello suites, took it to my private teacher, and he helped me to work on it and to perfect a couple of movements. After 1 year of private study on the cello, my teacher suggested that I audition for the Richmond Symphony Youth Orchestra. He said that he found out that they needed some cello players. So I set up my audition, played for the maestro, the great maestro Edgar Schenkman, the founder and first director of the Richmond Symphony. And he was very impressed with my playing. He couldn't believe that I'd only played for 1 year and already playing the Bach suites. So he took me into the orchestra because he said he needed cello players, which I already knew. That was a great experience because Maestro Schenkman was a natural teacher. He showed us how to, and all his movements on the podium he explained. He gave his reasons for every nuance, everything that he did on the podium. Looking back on it now, I realize that not only was he training young high school students to be future orchestral players, if anyone was listening and if anyone was interested, he was also training future conductors. So I had some tips that I could take with me, I knew, for the rest of my life. After high school, I was fortunate to enroll in one of the finest music conservatories in the world, the Manhattan School of Music in New York City. And living in the Big Apple is an education in itself. But the Manhattan School offered so many performance opportunities. I had played in the school orchestra, which was magnificent. We had amazing conductors on the school staff. Often we had guest conductors, internationally renowned conductors come in to guest conduct. Also soloists, student soloists, and even student conductors from time to time. So it was a great experience. I learned a lot about chamber music performance. Manhattan had an outstanding opera department. They would put on these spectacular opera productions, and I got to play in the opera pit a few times for operatic performances. While at the Manhattan School, I decided to enroll in a conducting class, And not so much that I had ambitions of becoming a conductor, but then I thought that maybe I could find out more, I could become a better orchestral musician if I found out what was going on the conductor's podium. And that was a great experience. It was in that class that it was discovered that I had a talent for conducting. My conducting teacher was impressed with what I did on the podium when I was in front of the musicians, and he thought I had a natural talent and a natural ability, even to the point that he suggested that I change my major from cello to conducting. But I thought, I don't know if that's a good idea, because I think I would stand a better chance of landing a job playing in a symphony orchestra than I would waiting for a post as a conductor of an orchestra to come along. So I thought that was a wise choice. But after college, I got out into the real world, I guess you could say, and then it dawned on me that I needed to start playing some gigs and making some money, because I needed to pay my rent and put food on my table. So the natural route would be to join the Musicians Union. So I joined the local 802, New York City, American Federation of Musicians, AF of M. I was a card-carrying member, and that enabled me to be able to audition for different orchestras and play some amazing gigs. I joined an orchestra that was based at Carnegie Hall, and I got to play concerts in Carnegie Hall with a professional freelance orchestra, the Symphony of the New World it was called. And you can imagine how humbling it was to play on such a legendary stage and to make music in those heavenly acoustics there at Carnegie. Also, I played a lot of pop and rock gigs at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, also at the Radio City Music Hall, Rockefeller Center, and I got to play with some pretty big rock stars and pop stars during the day. I also joined chamber orchestra, the New York Pro Arte Chamber Orchestra of 12 virtuoso string players. To this day, I'm not even sure how I got in that group, but I toured Europe on several concert tours with that orchestra, and we even made a couple of recordings. So that was an experience of a lifetime. After about a decade of the 1970s living in New York, I decided to move back to my hometown of Richmond, Virginia. And I found out that there's a group called the Richmond Chamber Players that needed a cello player. So I played for their founder and director, and he was impressed with my playing. And I played for several years with that group. We even toured the western part of the state of Virginia at one time. Great chamber music experience. And then I got a call from a distinguished gentleman named Dr. F. Nathaniel Gatlin. And he told me that he was conductor of an orchestra in Petersburg, the Petersburg Symphony. And he knew that I had studied at Manhattan School, and he said he really needed a cello player, so he invited me to come to play with the Petersburg Symphony. And of course, I couldn't turn Dr. Gatlin down. I said, of course, yes. And I joined the cello section in the spring of 1980, celebrating my 40th anniversary as a member of the orchestra this year. And so I played in the cello section of the orchestra for 6 years, and then Dr. Gatlin appointed me his assistant conductor. He needed someone who would be able to step in often at a moment's notice to conduct rehearsals and concerts, because he was suffering from health complications and couldn't always be there. So I was so honored, humbled, to serve as his assistant conductor for 3 years. And he passed in 1989, and that was when I was appointed his successor. This is a case of the conducting profession coming to me. I did not ever go to it. I just felt that it was important that I hone my skills and to be the best orchestral musician, the best performer on my instrument that I could be. And this has been an honor to serve as the music director and conductor of Petersburg Symphony. I'll have to tell you, I've never felt more at home than I have with playing and conducting the Petersburg Symphony. It is truly a family. I've never had that feeling playing with any other group or organization all through my career. And this has been a great ride, and I want to thank everyone for their support. Thank you for your support of Petersburg Symphony. Go to our website, petersburgsymphony.org, and follow us online. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.